Every evening, TVJ's Primetime News brings you the major news events of the day and other reports that viewers find interesting and informative. While our reports are comprehensive, some topics require more discussion time. Welcome to Primetime News Plus, where we do just that, take our news reports further. I'm Herman Green. A tragic incident at the William Nibb High School in Trelawney in March, which left one student dead and another facing murder charges, has dominated the news cycle for several weeks. Before we go any further, again, our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Kamal Hall, who died in that incident. No parent should have to bury their child. And in spite of the arguments stemming from this incident, there is no indication or suggestion that Kamal himself was involved in any illegal or superstitious activities. Now, having said that, police reports confirm that the deadly dispute at William Nibb stemmed from an alleged dispute over a guard ring, and that has triggered many debates. Firstly, about beliefs, misguided or not, in superstition and the link between that belief and illegal activities. Now, William Nibb's acting principal, Audrey Steele, and other school administrators in the western side of the island note that since the 2-year pandemic break, many students have returned with these bulky rings. Through music and police reports, guard rings have been linked to the illicit lottery scamming and related violent crimes. Listen for a minute as students, teachers, guard ring dealers, and pastors have all spoken with us on the matter.
Persons who wear a guard ring, they give most problem. Yeah, most problem.
And you see a lot of it in school?
Yeah, lot of guard ring since the pandemic and school reopened.
So just want to let you know what we're up against. We are constantly confiscating these rings, and the more you confiscate them, the more they come. So it seems as if that was the problem.
As you're born, Satan after you, and wicked people after you. So you have a guard for either one or the other. And if you have a good guard, you're being protected from the two. Because Satan is going to do everything to win your soul. And man is going to do everything to kill you. Hello, man a kill man for better looks. Man a kill man for prettier woman. Man a kill man because he say I want a good job. Man a walk up here because man get promotion over them. Hello, the thing hot.
A lot of them from Spanish Town who said they were wearing guard rings, I buried them at Dovecut and Meadows and number 5. So if that's your belief, it is harming our young people. It is hurting our boys who are in school right now, struggling to get an education.
Now, it's not that we're ignoring the guard ring issue, but are we missing the real problem? When face-to-face school resumed in January, videos of school fights started swarming social media. This was Prime Minister Andrew Holness' comment on the issue.
I don't know if you have been noticing, but as children go back to school, we're seeing many more fights than before. That is a direct consequence of children not being under order and heading back into a situation where they have to be in a disciplined situation in schools.
Mr. Holness' comment was part of the government's defense for reopening face-to-face schools as COVID-19 numbers started to decline. His suggestion that 2 years of no face-to-face school had retarded students' social skills. But is it possible that the problem goes even deeper? These vicious school fights have brought the issue of violence in schools back to public attention. Schools have now ramped up their security and search at their gates. The Education Ministry conducted an audit of metal detectors at schools, announcing that all high schools have metal detectors at their entrances, and other schools are in line to receive the handheld version of the device. Now, this is an immediate response that should reduce the chances of weapons being used in violent or fatal fights on the school compound. But as administrators at William Nibb High explained, that very morning, a number of knives were confiscated and some students were even suspended for these weapons. And yet, by lunchtime, tragedy. Which brings us to what some believe is the real problem. The issues we are seeing in schools is a reflection of the deep-rooted issues throughout society. President of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, Janet Silvera, believes this is a troubling indication of the society's lack of reasoning ability.
Our level of intelligence is in the dumps. Why else would we believe that a ring is the answer? Do not tell me. We need immediate intervention in our schools, in our homes, and in the lives of our parents, because we're going to find ourselves, we need to find ourselves in those homes and get to those parents, because 3/4 of the issues that we face in this country boils down to parenting.
Now, here's what cultural lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Mona, Dr. Sandra Stanley Naya, suggests. She was speaking with my colleague Dion Jackson Miller on TVJ's All Angles recently.
The problem is not the gathering. I want us to shift our attention. We are always in this country looking at symptoms and not at the root problems. So we don't need to take our eyes off the problem of violence. What we need to do is to understand that whether it is a gathering, whether it is a cup of coffee, whether it is your shoes, a Clark's, it is going to be that someone who does not have any training in anger management or conflict resolution, who is, immature in relation to solving problems, is going to respond with violence and crime. And so that's where I want us to focus our attention in this country.
Now, Dr. Stanley Naya isn't the only one with that view. As a matter of fact, the other guests on that episode of All Angles share that view. A number of school principals have also shared that view. So the question now is, how do we address that fundamental issue in society? Ms. Silvera was speaking at the launch of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce Crime Summit, where she noted something very interesting. The Crime Summit seeks to bring stakeholders together to talk about the crime problem. But Ms. Silvera suggested that all we have been doing is talking.
Again, why are we doing a security summit? Haven't we had 1 million talks on how to solve crime? Haven't we had dozens of social interventions that don't work? That we hear? Say it now work? Haven't we had SOE and ZOSOs, yet we're still not secure? But guess what we have never had? We have never had collective security. See, we have always thought that security was a government problem, a minister of security problem, a police problem, but not our problem. And that is where we're wrong.
Now, out of that summit, it's understood that the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce has partnered with a construction company in an effort to provide training and employment for young people from some troubled communities in St. James. The Chamber has also asked for other private sector entities to provide similar opportunities. As for the issue of violence in schools, she has also suggested tangible partnerships with parents to address these issues before they boil over in tragedy. Principal of Mushet High School in Trelawney, Leighton Johnson, he made a similar call in March.
Even if there is a policy that outlaws the wearing of these rings on the school compound, then they still have access to these rings. The bottom line is, as a school, as schools, we have to ensure that our policies are clear, our policies are understood, there is buy-in from the community, there's buy-in from everybody, the parents, the students, all stakeholders, so that as best as possible, school can be effective.
Now, I don't think the school principals, the chamber president, the prime minister, or the opposition leader believe there is one solution to this decades-old crime and violence problem. But I'm sure we can all agree that it will take a concerted effort from all of society to turn the tide around. Let's do it. To another primetime news topic now. The royal tour by the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge in March sparked protests in the 3 countries, including Jamaica, that were scheduled to be visited. Chief among the issues was the call for reparations from Britain for the atrocities of the slave trade. If this were to happen, what would reparations to Jamaica really look like? How would the average Jamaican benefit from a reparations agreement? PTN Plus will be exploring that very soon. Watch this space.